Hey, you guys, it's Lizzie here from Wonderful World. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. My internet connection is being a bit inconsistent today, so hopefully it will last throughout this webinar. So let me know in the little chat box below the screen that you can see me and hear me, and introduce yourself while you're there as well. Let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from, and what your business is or what you'd like your business to be. And while you do that, I'm just going to quickly introduce myself. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lizzie Davey. I'm a freelance writer, and I write for digital marketing companies, tech companies, and startups. I've been freelance for just over 2 years now. It was 2 years back in September. And the first year of my career, I lived in Spain, and then I moved back to sunny Brighton in England, mid-2015. So that's where I'm bringing you this webinar from today, in sunny Brighton. It's getting dark here, so hopefully the light will hold up as well. I wanted to kind of do a time where people all over the world could tune in, so hopefully this is a good time for you. Hopefully you've got yourself a nice drink. I've got myself a cup of tea here. Make yourself a coffee or whatever. Grab a notebook and a pen, and hopefully there'll be lots of actionable stuff that you can take away with you from this webinar. I'm planning on spending about an hour with you guys. I know that your time is really valuable, and I'm really pleased that you're here with me, spending this time with me, so I'm not going to waste any of your time at all. I know for me personally, I love it when webinars just kind of jump straight into the good stuff and don't hang around on the introductions too long. So now that people are starting to come in, let me share my screen with you, if I can remember how to do this. It's been so long since I have used Google Hangouts. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, fingers crossed. Let me know if you can see the presentation, just by letting me know in the little chat box. That would be grand, because I have no idea what you can see or hear. Okay, so in this webinar is all about how you can leverage the skills and knowledge that you already have, that you can already bring to the table to help you land freelance clients. And I know this is something that a lot of new freelancers, myself included, at the start of my career really struggled with, the concept that I could actually land clients without having any experience freelancing. I mean, it can be daunting, but it's possible, and I'm going to show you how today. Okay, so we've got Icy here, we've got Raquel, hi Leah, hi Simon. So glad that you could all join in today with me. Really, really grateful to have you here. Okay, so I want to start off by saying that every single freelancer starts in exactly the same place. We can only bring our past life and work experience with us to the freelancing table. And not any freelancer ever starts with a full roster of clients. No one starts knowing exactly what to do, how to land clients, what they need to be doing, and where they need to be doing it. So in this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can leverage the skills that you already have and figure out what those skills are in the first place, if you don't know already, in order to kick off your career with a bang. And I'm also going to show you how you can use these skills as a starting point for kind of expanding your business and deep diving into a specific niche. So I know for those guys who arrived early, I quickly introduced myself before when my face was on the camera, but I'm just going to quickly run through a little bit more about me in detail. So I'm Lizzie Davey, freelance writer for digital marketing companies, startups and tech companies. Like I said before, I've been a freelancer for just over 2 years. And in my first month freelancing, I earned $2,000. And from then I've gone on to earn $5,000 plus a month from a few really key high quality clients. But most importantly, I am just like you. I You are no better than me, I'm no better than you, everyone is the same, we all start in the same place, no one is special. You don't have to be special to be a freelancer, there's not a specific kind of person that can do it. It's possible for anyone. So I really want to kind of hammer that home during this webinar. Okay, so let's move on to what you're going to learn. So today I'm going to tell you what the biggest mistake new freelancers make when it comes to landing work. And then I'm going to show you how you can determine what useful knowledge you already have for freelancing before I show you how you can show off those skills in your applications, even when it feels like you're a complete fraud. Trust me, you're not. We all feel like that at some point. And then finally, I'm going to show you how you can deep dive into other niches and improve your authority. So kind of building on your skills that you have already to become known for something in particular, which can be extremely lucrative in the freelancing world. So first of all, I just want to start by saying that we often believe we don't know as much as we actually do. And I actually first realised this when I started working in marketing for a travel company. After a couple of months, I was talking to some of my friends over a drink on a Friday night about my job, and they were kind of like, wow, I had no idea about all of this stuff, no idea at all. And for some reason, because I was kind of so immersed in it all, it was my life, it was what I did for 8 hours a day, I thought that everyone knew about it. I thought everyone knew about SEO, about email marketing, etc. We're going to dig a little deeper into this in a moment. But first of all, I just want you to think about a friend or someone you know and consider what their expertise is and why you consider them to have this expertise. So the chances are that they've done something in their lives, whether it's a job or an interest that they have, that gives them this added knowledge. And it's actually the same for you, but it's so much more difficult to see this in ourselves and to determine what it is for us. So once you've done that, go ahead and picture your favorite freelancer or your favorite online figure or even your favorite real life professional figure. And if you want, you can write it in the comments, share it with everyone. Maybe it's someone you've been following for a while. Maybe it's an old boss or colleague of yours. Maybe it's your friend who's been kind of freelancing or running their own business for a couple of years longer than you. Maybe it's a local business owner in your area, whoever. Now, I want you to think about why they're your favorite and why you admire them so much. And the chances are it's because of one of these things. And type yes into the chat box if it is because of one of these things. So it's either because they provide value above and beyond someone else. It's because they're really knowledgeable in an area that you're not that knowledgeable in. It's because they've carved a place in the industry that you're kind of envious of, if you really think about it. And those three things, the things that I've just listed here, aren't what make them admirable in your eyes. They're also what makes them admirable in their entire industry. So now I want you to write down what kind of knowledge area they're in and what skills they have, and get really specific here if possible. So for example, if your admirable person is a freelancer, what kind of freelancing do they do? What's their skill or their craft? What do they do and who do they do it for? Now, finally, ask yourself this. What was this person's history with this knowledge area? For example, that entrepreneur you follow who is well known for offering social media advice, what is their history with social media? What kind of experience do they have with it in the past? And it's very, very likely that they were not born with that knowledge. We can probably all agree on that, right? They probably shifted towards that topic either because they'd worked in that industry previously, or it's an area they enjoy and they've been more than happy to dive in and learn as they go. So for me, let's use me as an example, as I'm here. When I started out, I focused on travel and arts writing. I had a passion for travel and had worked in the travel industry, so I knew the kind of things that travel buyers like to read. And I did an arts degree, so I knew about contemporary artists and different styles of painting, etc. So more so than the average person on the street. Now, when I moved on to digital marketing content, when I started writing for digital marketing companies, writing for tech companies, it was because of two things. Firstly, I'd worked in marketing in previous positions. I'd worked as a marketing assistant and a community manager. So I kind of knew the basics of the industry. But that wasn't the main reason for switching niche. In fact, I actually hated marketing when I left my job in it, and I never ever wanted to do anything to do with it ever again when I left. However, with Wonderful World and the other blog that I was running at the time, I was experimenting with different marketing techniques, except it didn't really feel like marketing anymore because I was actively enjoying it. And I soon learned through doing it, through personal experience, that there's a lot more to marketing than kind of dodgy SEO and dodgy link building. And I'd been learning lots of it without realizing, just from running my own 2 blogs. So it's kind of like working life experience. And I was absolutely no expert when I started, but because I was consistently learning about it, I was keeping on top of trends and knew most of what there is to know about marketing. Now, I'm going to talk more about how you can learn on the job to define a niche you want to get into, maybe a more profitable niche, but don't think you have the skills for that in a bit. But first, I just want to set the record straight about one thing. Now, I want you to notice here that the area I write in has changed, so the niche I write in has changed, but my skill hasn't. I'm still a writer, I've just changed who I write for. And basically, there's this huge mistake that new freelancers make when they're starting out, and that's thinking that they're selling their experience rather than selling a skill. Let me just elaborate on that. So you might not have experience as a freelancer, as in you've never been paid to create a piece of writing or a design before, but that's not what you're selling. You're not selling freelancing. You're selling a craft like writing, designing, painting, etc. And the chances are, I'm willing to bet really good money on this, that you do have experience in that. If you're going into freelance writing, if you want to take up freelance writing, I'm willing to bet a lot of money that you've written hundreds of pieces before, whether it was just for yourself, a personal blog, novels, or a journal, or anything. And I want you to bear that in mind while we're going through this webinar, because that's really important. So the main thing that you're selling is a skill. But in order to create a profitable career, you need to be able to define who you can best help with that skill. And that's where your niche or knowledge area, as I like to call it, comes in. So the skill comes first, and then the niche or knowledge area comes after. The skill is the most important thing. And to make the best impact as a new freelancer with no experience in freelancing, you need to combine your skill with your knowledge, and that knowledge is something that you already have. Oops. So skill and knowledge area equals match made in heaven. This, I could not stress this enough. The main focus is your skill. So writing, if you're a writer, or more specifically, how you're writing, for example, how your writing can help a brand reach their goals. But most businesses will be looking for more than just a good writer, a good designer, a good marketer. They'll be looking for someone who understands their industry and can use the language. And this is where your knowledge base comes in. And the good thing is, the really great thing about this is you already have that skill. So writing, designing, because obviously you wouldn't become a freelance writer or designer if you hated writing, designing, marketing, or were really bad at it. And you already have the knowledge, even if you don't know you have it. It's just a case of combining the two to land clients. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So let's look at the skills and knowledge that you can already bring to the table besides your craft. Now, I want you to think about the 3 questions I'm about to put forward and jot down your answers. So, first of all, what jobs have you held previously? What industries have they been in? What skills did you learn from them? So let's take an example. Say you've been a waitress in the past. I've been a waitress in the past. You probably know a fair bit about the hospitality industry. You maybe know a lot about restaurants. You know about customer service. You know about drinks. And then think about the things that surround that job. So the key here with the waitressing, everything that you do, the roles that you have, the responsibilities that you have, the skills that you picked up doing that. Let's take another example. Say you've been a teacher. You probably know about the education industry and you've likely taught a specific subject which you know a lot about. Or maybe you had a favourite subject that you taught, something like the Viking period or photosynthesis. If anyone likes photosynthesis. Okay, and the next one is, what do you like to do in your spare time? What hobbies do you have? How do you spend your weekends? Now, you might be thinking, there's no way I could ever turn my knitting obsession into something, but trust me, there are tons of brands out there looking for really niche knowledge like this. So let's take an example. Actually, before we do that, I've got this. This is just a slide I put in earlier today. It will make more sense after the example I'm about to give. Just a quick search for outdoor writing jobs, and this came up almost immediately. So it's really easy to find stuff to do with your interests. But perhaps this slide should have come after my example, which is here. So meet Alice. Alice likes to spend her spare time reading and riding her bike. At the weekends, she likes to go outdoors and birdwatch, and then she likes to come home and cook a healthy meal. Now, there's lots to dig into here. Alice obviously knows a lot about books because she likes to spend her spare time reading, and she's probably a keen cyclist, so she can transfer her knowledge from that to outdoor companies and biking companies. And likewise with the birdwatching, that's the kind of a skill not a lot of people have, but there are definitely businesses that need people with this knowledge. Of course, there's going to be businesses related to birds, bird food, etc. out there. And finally, even though Alice thinks she's just throwing a recipe together each week, she probably knows a thing or two about cooking if she does it so often. Perhaps what spices complement what and what vegetables are in season. So there are so many knowledge areas here that Alice could combine her skill with just right off the bat, just from digging into what she likes to do at the weekend. And remember here that we know more about things than we think we do. So if you're feeling stuck at this stage, ask your friends or colleagues or family what they'd come to you for advice for, or what they think you're most knowledgeable about. Sometimes it's quite good to get it from a different perspective. Okay. And finally, the third question you want to ask yourself is, what are you interested in? What do you like learning about, but maybe you don't think you're that knowledgeable on? And this is where you can get really creative. For example, maybe you love the idea of astrophysics, but you're really not knowledgeable in it. Think about here, what kind of news stories interest you the most? What kind of blogs you read? What kind of books you're drawn to? So, for example, before I started writing for app companies, I loved the idea of startups and small creative businesses that offered an innovative product. But the problem was I didn't really know much about them at all, so I didn't think I could offer my services in that knowledge area. That's where freelancing gets really good. The thing with being a freelancer, just like any other position out there, is it's so easy to learn on the job. And you kind of have to learn on the job, just like I did with the digital marketing niche, like I told you about earlier. Because if everyone only used the knowledge they had at the start of freelancing to kind of form their niche for their entire career, there'd kind of be a lot of stagnant freelancers not really moving forward with their businesses and maybe a bit disillusioned with what they're writing about after a while. So now hopefully you have some ideas of knowledge areas that you maybe didn't think you could bring into freelancing, and type yes in the comments if that's the case. And we're going to move on to how you can leverage these knowledge areas in your applications or pitches when you're just starting out. So how you can share this knowledge with potential clients. Now, let me just say this. I know that pitching is scary, and sending off applications when you're just getting started is terrifying. I lost count of the amount of times I've written out a kind of cover letter to a job. I need to click delete because I knew I wouldn't get the job because I didn't have enough experience freelancing, or the client would be able to see straight through my act and know that I was an absolute newbie who knew nothing about the industry. And these fears are real for all of us. But trust me when I say it gets better, it really does. Things get easier, but in the early stages, we can make things a tiny bit more bearable by tapping into these skills and knowledge areas that we have and know to kind of bolster ourselves up and to put ourselves on a level pegging with people who've been freelancing for maybe a longer time. So consider this scenario as an example. Say there is a client looking for a freelancer to write blog posts in the financial niche. So they need someone who knows the language and understands the fast turn of trends in the financial industry. Do you think that they're going to hire someone with 4 years freelancing experience, but who has maybe never written for the financial industry? I mean, sure, this freelancer has maybe written great pieces for big brands in the past, but nothing that proves that they knew about the finance industry. Or do you think that they're more likely to hire someone who was brand new to freelancing, though didn't explicitly say that in their application, because I don't recommend doing that, but had worked as a financial assistant for a number of years and knew the ins and outs of the industry? I mean, okay, so maybe the second freelancer didn't have many samples under their belt. Maybe they'd written a couple of bespoke pieces to show they could actually write, but they showed their knowledge in the application by using the language and touching on some of the trends and industry-specific stories to make their application stand out. And the example I use for this is my very first application to a freelance writing gig. Instead of writing, I have 2 months, well, it wasn't even that, a month experience freelance writing. I wrote that I'd been working in the travel industry for 3 years, so I had 3 years experience in the travel industry, even though I hadn't been freelance writing for the travel industry. So you can kind of use your wording a little bit to show that you do have experience in that area, but it might just not be with freelancing. Icy says, I feel like my knowledge areas and interests don't fall into profitable niches. There's actually a section that I've got at the end of this webinar that's going to show you how you can find profitable niches and kind of get stuck into them. So hopefully that will help you out with that. So who do you think the client would hire from the situation above? Now, I know which one I would choose, because it doesn't take as long to teach someone an editorial style as it does to teach them the details of an entire industry, especially when you're kind of working with the same base skill, which is writing in this. And we'll assume that both freelancers that applied can write and are good at it. So it's likely that the client would go for the new freelancer with no freelancing experience, a couple of writing examples, and a deep knowledge of the financial industry, because that's the most important part. I just want to add quickly that in the freelancing world, the number of years that you've been doing it doesn't matter at all. It means absolutely nothing if you don't have the skills and knowledge a client is looking for, which is why it's so important to tap into the knowledge areas you already have to give yourself a boost in the early stages. And this is where a lot of new freelancers go wrong. They kind of focus solely on their skill, or they focus solely on their knowledge area, and then struggle to combine the two. But the key to landing freelance jobs at any stage of your career, whether you're new or experienced, is combining the skill that you're selling with your knowledge areas. And the best way to showcase that you have the skill and the knowledge, which basically makes you a sure thing for the client, is to stress it in your application. So we're going to run through some ways that you can show off what you know already in a pitch. So a quick couple of introductory sentences that cover the skill and the knowledge area. This is something that I back completely. This is what I do in all of my pitches, all of my applications. The introductory sentence is so important. It's just a couple of sentences that show your experience with the topic and how your skill can help. So it combines the two areas, remember. So for example, I'm a wildlife writer and keen bird watcher who has taken a number of planned expeditions over the past 5 years. I help outdoor brands bring valuable information to a wide audience through long form content. So notice here how you've got the skill, so the writing, and the knowledge area. So I'm a keen bird watcher. I've been on a number of expeditions. We've covered those both in this introductory sentence. Secondly, you can share your interests if they match what the client is looking for. So say you're applying for a knitting job, whether that's writing or designing or whatever. I mean, not necessarily a job where you knit, and you're a keen knitter, you could write something like, knitting hats and socks is my thing, and I've made more than 50 of them over the past year. You have to remember that there will be tons of other freelancers applying for the same job who might have the same skill as you, but not the knowledge base, which will then make your application stand out. And that's what you kind of have to tap into when you're a new freelancer. And thirdly, I've spoken about this a lot, you can show it with your bespoke pieces, bespoke samples, if you don't have any paid or published samples to begin with. So these don't have to be lengthy or take a lot of time to create. They just kind of have to show that you understand your knowledge area and show off your skill at the same time. So it's kind of like a marriage of the two in a real life visual format. So, for example, if you want to leverage your knowledge of cycling for an outdoor company, you might create a bespoke blog post about the best places to cycle, or an About Us page for a made-up outdoor brand. Because one thing to remember is when you're pitching and sending off applications, it's not always all about what you're being asked to do. And a lot of new freelancers freeze up when it comes to applications. Because they think they need to be reeling off all these awesome clients they've worked with and showcase hundreds of published pieces. But 9 times out of 10, a good quality client, so a high quality client who knows what they want, doesn't care what you've done before. All they care about is that your skill can help them achieve their goals and that you get what they want and will be a good fit working with them. And a lot of time, actually, being a good fit simply means that you've shown that your skill and knowledge area are precisely what the client is looking for and that they align. And this is what will make your application stand out. Now, you might have written out the skills you have and the knowledge areas that you can work in and be looking at your list thinking, okay, great, this list is full of things I'm interested in, but can I really get paid to write about this kind of stuff? Can I really get paid to write or market or do whatever about knitting or football or travel? And while the answer is always yes, there are clients in every single niche imaginable, you'd be surprised really what's out there. There is one more thing that you have to consider when starting out and choosing your niche, and that's how much they pay. So, obviously, popular fun topics to write or work with, like travel or fashion or music or films, have tons of people who also want to work in that niche, which makes the competition high and the prices low, because obviously people are willing to write about their travels for free or for a really low price. And this is something that I experienced firsthand when I started out. I wanted to go into the travel niche because that's where I had the most experience and the most interest. So I answered all of the questions that I'd been through in this webinar and came out with the fact that I was knowledgeable about travel, so it made sense to go into that niche. And it worked for a while, for about kind of 6 months or so. But then I realized I couldn't get past that $75 price point for articles. There wasn't, or there didn't seem to be, a single travel company out there who was willing to pay me more than that. And it's simple why that is, really. It's because travel doesn't really require any specific knowledge. It's not like marketing where there are things to be learned, and it's not like the medicine industry where there are specific terms to know and learn. So now let's take a look at what makes a profitable niche. If my computer stops crashing, there we go. So firstly, a profitable niche focuses on a knowledge area that not everyone has or knows about. So most people can travel, but not everyone knows about email marketing or SEO or medicine or the financial industry. Secondly, the competition isn't high in a profitable niche. When you're competing against thousands and thousands of other people, the chances of you landing a gig often fall out of your favour, and it tends to drive the overall prices down. So the less people who are applying, the better chance you have of getting kind of a profitable client. Thirdly, a profitable niche requires you to be constantly learning. So take the tech industry, for example. There's always some new trend coming out or new innovative businesses popping up. And you constantly have to be on the ball, otherwise your knowledge becomes old and unusable. Now, I'm just going to touch on this last point quickly about constantly learning before I take some questions from you guys. So if you have any questions at this stage, please do put them in the chat box and I'll come to them in a moment. If anything to do about freelancing, niche, knowledge areas, skilled, whatever, put it in the chat box and I will answer it in a moment. Because the thing about freelancing is it's such a fluid industry. So I'm a prime example of that. I started as a travel writer, but now I've positioned myself as a business and marketing writer because A, I enjoy the work more, and B, it pays much better, it's more profitable. And it does take a while to find that kind of crux where you meet what you enjoy meets getting paid well. That means that you don't have to stick with the first niche that comes along. You can constantly be learning on the job and adding to your skills and knowledge base in order to get better clients and kind of expand your area of expertise. So to finish, let's just go over a few ways that you can get into a niche you want to go into, but kind of don't have many skills or much knowledge in it to begin with. So say, for example, you want to go into writing for app companies, which is actually one of the sub-niches I tackle. First of all, you want to continuously be reading up on the topic. You want to attend free webinars on it, add blog posts dedicated to it to your daily reader. I use Feedly for that. You want to sign up for newsletters that share insider secrets, download books that cover the topic. Free books are great for that. Every piece of fresh content that you can get your hands on to do with that topic, do get your hands on it. You'd be amazed how much you can learn about a topic if you give yourself a week, a month, or even just like an hour to read up on it. Secondly, you want to join the communities around the topic so that you can start to get to know the pain points that people have in it and start building a name for yourself in it, start making those all-important connections. And that could mean joining Facebook groups for app developers. It could mean attending local meetups for startups and tech businesses in your area, or it might be hopping into forums that are dedicated to the topic. This is kind of a two-pronged approach that anyone can use, so the communities and the research, to learn more about a niche or a topic they want to write about but don't necessarily have the know-how just yet. So before I delve into the Q&A, remember to put your questions in the chat box so I can come to them afterwards. I want you to quickly write down a knowledge area you'd like to work in, but maybe don't have the experience or knowledge in it just yet. So now I want you to think about a game plan for the next month. And when this webinar's over, I want you to find 5 blogs on that topic and download at least 1 book or ebook, can be free, better if it's free, that digs into this topic. That's my challenge to you, because as freelancers, we constantly have to be expanding our skills and knowledge if we want to succeed. And those are the 2 things, knowledge and skills, that will land us jobs time and time again. And we have to be growing in both areas, both our knowledge, both our skills. But when you're starting out, you need to give yourself a little push in the right direction. Which brings me on to today's special offer for you guys who have turned up live and who are watching this webinar. As you can see, there's a kind of a big red button below the screen and the chat box for Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer. And you might be wondering why that's there. So I'm going to talk about that while you guys put your questions into the chat box. So if you don't know, Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer is my major program that helps new freelancers kickstart and create long-term lucrative writing businesses. And today I've got something a little special for you guys who are hanging out here with me. But first, I just want to say thank you again for taking the time out of your day. I know you're all really busy and I do appreciate it for taking the time out of your day to be here with me. I've had a great time so far and I'm sure I'll only get better. Now, I don't know about you, but I've seen tons of courses out there showing you how you can get your first client in one day, or how you can earn thousands of dollars overnight freelancing. And they sound good, right? The thought of launching into it so quickly and getting a client straight away. It sounds pretty good when you're just starting out. I mean, I probably would have loved something like that when I was starting out. But the thing is, these courses predominantly teach unsustainable ways to run a long-term business. So they focus on short-term goals, and once you've landed that first client, you're kind of out there on your own to fend for yourself. When really, after you land your first client, that's the most vital stage of your freelancing career. So this leads people to being consistently burnt out, and disillusioned with the industry and constantly feeling like they're running on a hamster wheel to get ahead. So here's my public safety announcement. This is precisely not what Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer is about. I personally believe that building the foundations of your business while strategically landing clients you want to work with is absolutely vital if you want a long-term and lucrative writing business. Because becoming a freelancer is not an overnight thing at all. It's hard work and it can be overwhelming. And after 2 years reading and responding to hundreds of reader emails, I've seen that there was a need for something that helped people kind of lay those foundations down for their business. So not just a quick course that promises to get you your first client in a day, regardless of whether that client is crappy or not. Because there is so much more to freelancing than landing clients. I mean, of course, that is a hugely important part of it. And there's an entire 2 modules in the course dedicated to unique ways that you can find quality clients that actually pay well. But you also have to think about your website, your ongoing marketing strategy, your goals, your business plan, and so much more. Okay. So these are the things that the most successful freelancers work on, not just grabbing a client here and there without any strategic approach. They kind of have a plan and they stick consistently to that plan. So to boil things down for you, Launch Your Life as a freelance writer will help you to conquer your fear of going freelance, increase your revenue month by month by using a specific results-based marketing strategy. It will help you find out where to find a steady stream of clients and where you're wasting your time. And it will help you blast your conversion rates through the roof. And we'll do that by optimizing your website and your pitches. And just for today, just for you lovely people that have come to this webinar live, I'm going to throw in a little bonus for you. Now, I know that a lot of you struggle with niche. So I'm going to throw in my Niche Ninja package for absolutely free if you enroll on Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer today. So with that, we're going to work together one-on-one to kind of hash out your niches until you settle on 3 knowledge areas that you're proud of and kind of excited to get stuck into. If niche is your biggest bugbear, this is exactly what you need. So as well as access to all of the 4 modules to the course, including 2 bonus lessons and a whopping 7 bonus videos, you'll not only get my in-depth niche ninja package with one-on-one help and guidance from me about what niche is best for you. So if that sounds good, just hit the button below the chat box. Below the video is the chat box, and then below the chat box is the button. But I just want to say that this offer is only going to be available for 48 hours. So it's closing at 9 p.m. GMT on Friday. So you have 2 days. And I know that it's Thanksgiving in America, my terrible timing with webinars. So if you want to snap it up, you've got to be quick. I'm going to send out a replay after this with all the info that you need to know, and that will cover more information about Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer. So if you want to take the time to go through that, please do. Now, I know that you might have reservations about whether you're kind of good enough to make it as a freelancer or whether now is the right time for you. And I want you to know that you don't have to quit your job tomorrow to become a successful freelancer. In fact, that's absolutely definitely not the way you should go about it. Instead, with Launch Your Life as a freelance writer, I'm going to help you land your first client alongside your day job, then your second client, then your third, and so on until you're ready to take the plunge and you have a fully fledged successful business set up. Okay. So if you're still having hesitations about whether it will work for you, here's what some of current students have to say. So Judith was one of the very first students on Launch Your Life as a freelance writer. She says, you don't just lay out a list of what I need to do, but the details of how I can make it happen. I feel so fortunate that I found your course. It has literally been a lifesaver. I'm grateful beyond words. And that's the thing that I really wanted to kind of emphasize and put into action with Launch Your Life as a freelance writer. I wanted it to be a really actionable course. So at the end of every lesson, there is a challenge, a task that will take you between 10 and 30 minutes with a workbook so that you can get something out of each and every lesson. And then we have LJ, who is actually with us today in the chat, who says, Lizzie is so generous and approachable, and her friendly style makes it easy to take in the huge amounts of information that she makes available. She's made what could be a daunting task into a process that feels far more achievable. Launch Your Life doesn't just give you the information you need, it also gives you the confidence too. I'd highly recommend the course. So there's more testimonials on the page I'm going to send you in the replay email, so you can have a look at some of what the other students are saying as well. Okay, so phew, we covered tons today, right? Hopefully now the thought of diving in head first with what you thought was no experience doesn't seem so daunting. So now I'd like to open up the floor for some questions. I think we've got a few in already, so I'm going to scroll back through and answer those. If you have anything else that you'd like to ask about niche, knowledge, skills, or the Launch Your Life, can't speak today, or the Launch Your Life program, put it in the chat box and I'll get to it. So just going to have a little scroll through the chat. Okay, so here's one. I have experience in tourism, but greater interest in creative writing and real estate in terms of interior design. Any suggestions on where I can take that? Real estate is actually a very profitable niche for writing. So that would, if you have an interest in that, that's something that's really, really good to get into. And like I said, if you have an interest in it, that's perfect, because you can always learn more about a niche. Like I said, I had worked in the marketing world before I started writing for digital marketing companies, but I wasn't experienced. I wouldn't have considered myself knowledgeable on it. So it was kind of through reading about it, through acting on courses I'd done, webinars I'd watched and stuff, that I kind of really got that knowledge for it. And also the writing part of it has helped. So working with clients and their content, I've kind of learned as I've been doing that as well. So it's a constant process where you're growing. It's just kind of getting that initial base knowledge to begin with. And that's something you can definitely do with the real estate industry. Oh, Leah says, missed the cost of the course. Yeah, absolutely. I have not told you the cost of the course, and that's terrible. The cost of the course is $187, or there is a payment plan for 3 months of $67. You can do either of those options and still get the Niche Ninja package on top of that for free. Yes, Judith did launch a great website and she has some excellent niches. I love that idea, Raquel. It helps to see what's hot in the industry at the moment. Are more students applying for nursing school? Has there been a new breakthrough in diabetes research? What kind of experiences do you have in health issues or healthy living? That's so true. I know that my interest in the tech industry kind of grew in the last kind of couple of years, when I know it's been like 10 years and the tech industry is like blowing off completely. But it wasn't until like 2 years ago that I was like, hey, this is a really innovative industry. Things are constantly changing, so there's always going to be work. It's kind of one of the fastest growing industries, so there's always going to be a need for my skill and my service. Now, I think there's a few more questions further up. Leah asks, how can we research what niches are profitable? Example, I know healthcare is profitable. Yes, it's broad, yet it's broad. How can I research what aspects are profitable? This is a really good question, actually. And my answer is going to probably be really frustrating, but it takes time to figure it out. In the digital marketing niche, kind of, I put myself forward as all sorts of marketing writer, so SEO, email marketing, social media marketing, whatever. And I soon found that writing about social media is not as lucrative as writing about email marketing, simply because so many people claim to know everything there is to know about social media. It's kind of more accessible to the masses, whereas there's only a certain kind of type of person that knows about email marketing and the kind of ins and outs of that. So it does genuinely just take time to figure it out. And I always say to my students and my readers that they should have more than one area, more than one niche, preferably 2 to 3 niches when they're starting out, because it does take time to figure out what it is that you like writing about, what areas pay you well, and kind of where you can see a sustainable long-term future. So it's worth keeping those ideas open and then kind of honing in as you go. It's not a kind of overnight process where you can figure out what pays well, unfortunately. I mean, that would be really great if we could do that, but that's part of the part of it. Okay, Simon, I've already enrolled on the Launch Your Life as a Freelancer course. How much would it cost for the Niche Ninja? As you're already enrolled, Simon, I will send it to you for free. That is absolutely no problem. I actually don't offer Niche Ninja as a course on its own, so I will happily send that to you for no extra cost. Now I'm just trying to see if there were any more questions. I don't think there were. If you have any questions, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen with you so I can see you face to face while I say goodbye. Aha, there we go. See, it's got a whole lot darker here since I've been doing this. It's actually pitch black outside now, so hopefully you can still see me okay. I see, yeah, that would apply to you too. If you're already on Launch Your Life as a Freelance Writer, then just send me an email and I will send you the Niche Ninja package as well. That is no problem. Okay, so thank you so much, you guys, for taking the time out of your day to be here. I know I've said this so many times, but I really am grateful. I know that you're all very busy and wanting to move forward with your business. So it's really great that you've taken this time to kind of learn a little bit more and kind of put things into perspective more, maybe, that it's not as scary or as daunting as maybe you initially first thought. So I'm gonna tune out now. I mean, we're almost at an hour, so I want to say to those of you in America, happy Thanksgiving for tomorrow. Unfortunately, we don't have that in the UK, so it's a normal work day for me. The rest of you have a lovely week. I'm going to send out the replay to the webinar in a couple of hours, and there'll be more information about Launch Your Life in that, and more about the Niche Ninja package as well. So if you want to watch the replay, you can do that with the link I'm going to send you. And if you have any questions at all that crop up after this broadcast has ended, then feel free to shoot me an email at Lizzie at wonderful-world.com with any questions that you have, and I will answer them happily. So thank you again, guys. Have a lovely day or evening wherever you are in the world, and I'll be in your inbox soon with the replay. Bye.